This past year has been one of learning, watching the land we've come to steward and how it reacts throughout the seasons, doing small experiments and forays into changing the landscape, like a few raised beds and some much needed pruning, moving to larger changes like the Great Honeysuckle Purge of 2021, and doing some pretty deep erosion work. But the thing I couldn't get out of my head as I watched during the year were how many beautiful maple trees dotted the wet bits of property around our ravine. I double checked with some plant identifiers, and they even turned out to be sugar maples. And yeah, you can theoretically tap any sort of maple tree, but as the name implies, sugar maples produce the most sugar and, therefore, the most syrup. It, of course, brought some very serious ideas of DIY efforts into my head as I walked around and saw more and more maples every time I looked up. As I bought expensive maple syrup from local makers, I couldn't help but think, yeah, I could do that. So this is part one of an indefinite series called Fuck It Up With Me. I'm making maple syrup for the first time. And yeah, I know, yeah, I could do that are the most famous of last words, and I know it's a lot of effort, but what have I got but time and a will to try things new to me in this beautiful space that I am occupying? Plus, I always figure I'm sure the legions of my ancestors up in Maine would have my back as I try to replicate their sugaring adventures, hopefully with just a little less snow under my feet and alcohol in my veins. All this to say, I spent the summer observing the strongest, hardiest maples and marked 4 to 5 that I wanted to tap this winter. I diligently went out with my tape measure to see which of the healthiest trees were big enough, like this one, too tiny. I'm also referencing the Encyclopedia of Country Living, the book that literally gives you all the answers if you are living in the country or looking to exist a little more rurally. Feel free to pause and take a look at everything they have to say about maple syrup. Yes, that will be me quite soon. The University of Maine shares that a tree with a diameter of 10 to 20 inches across can sustain 1 tap, 20 to 25 can sustain 2, and 25 inches and over can sustain 3 taps. For all the information about taps per tree and all of stuff like that, I am sticking with just 1 tap per tree. As you can see, walking through my area of the forest, down there is a ravine. You know, my trees are smaller here, and I'm under no illusions that more sap is going to be anything bigger than a large pain in my ass in the future as I start to boil it down. That being said, I am very excited to get to know the trees in my area a little better, learn more about what's inside, and more about this process that I have always wondered about my whole life and never had the opportunity to really test out. I bought a kit because it ended up being the cheapest option for me. I will leave a link below to show you where I got it from. I, would really love some of those gorgeous metal taps on which to hang beautiful vintage metal sap collecting buckets. But, for year one of what might only be a 1-year hobby, this is totally fine, and it was very cost effective, even if I completely mess it up, which I don't think I will. So included are some filters, some of these tubes so that the sap can run down into your container, and the actual taps themselves. So I got some plastic ones. I read reviews. I've heard that the metal ones are really nice, but the plastic ones actually are easier to use. So for the first year, yes, makeup shot. I'm gonna go with the plastic ones and we'll see. And yeah. In terms of containers, I am just using some buckets. I have lids that I'm going to drill a hole in, and we will call it as simple as that, if you can call any of this simple. I'm not sure exactly how this experiment is going to go. A lot of people have a big setup for maple syrup collection, and we'll just have to see how it goes. So I hope that you like this video, I hope that you subscribe, and I will be sure to continue updating this series as it gets time to actually collect the sap, because it is closer than you might think. Bye guys!